Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. It's Tag Tuesday, so I thought I would do a video and get a tag in. I was recently tagged, and it may have been a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I was tagged by Ryan at Book Time with Ryan, and he did the finish the book tag. And like I said, he tagged me in that video. This was the original creator, he said was unknown, couldn't find it. And I think I looked at this tag quite a while back, and I couldn't find the original creator either. And so I will just leave the link to Ryan's video. If you've never checked out Ryan's channel, go check it out. He does an awesome job with book reviews on his channel. If you like books about being out on the ocean, he's got lots of stuff on being out on the ocean. He is a water lover, I guess, is how we could say that. He loves whales, he loves ships, he loves all that kind of stuff. He's got some pretty cool reviews out there, so go check out his channel and give him a sub and a like on his videos. So anyway, finish the book tag. Let's go ahead and get this started. There's only 7 questions that go with this, and then the 8th one is a tag, or who do you tag? So this shouldn't take very long. The first prompt or first question is, do you keep a list of the books you have read? And my answer is yes. Yes, I do. As I'm going through reading different books, I have a Google Doc that I have kept since the year 2017. And I have tried to meticulously keep every book that I have read. My old system didn't work really well. I recorded some, and then I would get lazy and not record others. But I have found that with the Google Doc, I've been able to record everything that I have read since the fall of 2017. I also have a Google spreadsheet that I started that desperately needs to be updated, but it's got every book that I own, and there's a box in there that you can check if I have read or not read the book. And so I recorded on that. And then just recently this year, I started I started using Goodreads. I've had lots of people over the last 3 years of being on BookTube that have, they always ask me, are you on Goodreads? And I'm like, no. Or I started an account, but I haven't done anything. And this year, my friend Brian at Brian MR, he got a hold of me. We Voxer back and forth together, and he said, Ruttenberg, you really need to try this. He said it keeps track of all kinds of stats. I know you're a stat nerd, and you will love it. Get on there and keep track of stuff. And so I have started to do that. Now, I haven't learned the ins and outs. I do everything on my phone, and I am a technology dinosaur. And so some of that stuff is pretty foreign to me. So I haven't gotten to where I am looking at other people's stuff yet and liking what they've read. I haven't got to that point yet. I will, I promise you. It may be over the summer when I start to really dig into Goodreads and see what all it does. So let's see. Question number 2 is, what stats do you record? Okay, so unlike my Google Doc that I keep all of the books that I've read, I take down the book title, the author, the page count, and then the dates that my beginning and end date on when I was reading that book. So I go through at the end of the year, and you guys that follow the channel know that I do an end of the year wrap up, and at the end of the year I'll count all the books I read for that year, and then I kind of, like I said, I'm a stat nerd, and so I break it down into page counts per month for the whole year, fiction versus nonfiction, and I compare it to previous years. I like to do that. It really means nothing, but I do like to do that. I'm a stat nerd. I'm a baseball guy, and that's what baseball guys do. They look at stats all the time. There's stats for everything. Excuse me. All right, so question number 3, do you give star readings? Okay, so since I've started doing Goodreads, all the books that I have finished since I've been on there, yes, I've given star ratings to those books I've read. And I also, on I don't know if I'd say most. I think most of my book chats or book reviews that I do on the channel, I've given star reviews. Some of them I'm not real sure where to put the book, and I did not rate it during the video. But I think on most of them I've given, I would say this is a 5-star or a 4-star, et cetera, et cetera. And I will say that when I give my star ratings, I tend to be a little bit more lenient probably than some, just because, people who are writing books, they're doing something I can't do. And so I have a lot of respect for that. I have given very, very few 1-star ratings, maybe just a couple books. And there's been maybe a couple 2-stars. Most books will at least hit a 3. And so I'm kind of lenient on it. So question number 4, do you review your books? So I do some of them on BookTube, probably not as many as I would like. I just find that during the school year, I get really busy. And then, for me, I think about it too much. I sit and I worry about what are people going to think of my review. Probably shouldn't think that way, but I do. And I want to be critical of the book in a good way. And I don't want to be way off the mark. It bothers me to think that I'll be way off the mark. Of course, it's my opinion, so that shouldn't really matter, but it does. And maybe some of you maybe some of you are like that. But I've given reviews of some of the books that I've read, and as I've done that, it was funny because when I first started the channel for the first year and a half, my book reviews got the fewest amount of views. And it was really, it's kind of depressing. It's kind of like, well, should I be doing these if nobody's even watching them? And I think everybody goes through that. And I still get, with some of the book reviews, they're books that maybe nobody's interested in, so I don't get a lot of views. And I've learned to live with it. It's like, that's okay. Who cares? But when I first started the channel, it really bothered me. And I learned very quickly to quit worrying about it, because when you look at my videos now that have the most views, it's like, I want to say 4 of the top 5 are book reviews. And my number 1 is my review on Frederick Douglass, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, which is a book we read every year. I read it twice with my kids, 1 for each section of kids. And so I was telling the kids, I've taught this 16 years, so I have 18 years. So I am working on 36 times I've done this. I've probably read it 4 times on my own. I've read this book 40 times, and the kids are like, whoa. And so I got a lot of insight into that book. And so I did that review, and that's actually my most viewed video. I got quite a few views, at least for my channel. It's a lot of views. So that was kind of a long answer to, yes, I do review books. Now, written reviews. It's something that maybe in the future I really want to do. I'd love to write for publications if I can figure out how to do it. There's kind of a format that you do, and you got to have the time to do it, because you don't want to just throw something together. It needs to be done properly. It needs to be done correctly. And so my plan is this summer, I hope to start trying to do 1 and 2 paragraph reviews for Goodreads, and just kind of build from there, and maybe move on to doing, I've done one for our local newspaper before, and maybe doing more for that, and just, get those reviews out there, get practice at it, because that's a lot of it, is getting practice at it, because there's kind of I think a rhythm to doing those. Let's see, question number 5, where do you put your finished books? On the shelf? Somebody else, I've seen a couple of these videos and we've all scratched our head on the shelf. That's where mine, they go back on the shelf. Now they might end up in a different place on the shelf, where down here I try to keep more of the books that I haven't read, so I have my selection, and then upstairs is where I keep most of them that I have read. Especially if it's a book that I'm going to possibly read again, or at least come back to for information, like for my history class, I try to make that book available so I can get to it, so I'll keep it on the shelf. Now, if it's a book that I know that I want to keep it, but probably not going to come back to it anytime soon. I do have some books in boxes, so I've done that with finished books. And then the other option is, if it's a book that maybe I've got doubles of it, or it's just a terrible book and I did not like it, I'll take it to the little free library that we've got in our downtown area, little book box down there, and I'll donate it there. Maybe somebody else will like it more than I did. Question number 6. How do you pick your next book? So for me, there's a few different things that I pay attention to here. And I've talked about this on the channel before. As a school teacher, as a history teacher, you go through different subjects or different topics in history, and you move chronologically, or at least I do my teaching chronologically because I think that makes more sense to the kids. And so we go from topic to topic down the timeline, and I tend to read a book that deals with the topic that we are covering in class. I try to, because it's going to make me more interested in it, and I tend to express that interest in the class, and the kids, I think, like that, and it makes me more knowledgeable. And then another thing that I have found is when I'm picking my book is buddy reads. If I have promised, we're going to do a buddy read this month, I kind of put that like in my hierarchy of, what to read first. That usually comes first. So like I'm doing a buddy read with Patrice Jones over the new Sam Adams biography from Stacy Schiff. And we're loving that book. And I have tried to, with the exception of a couple days there when we were really, really sick and going to the hospital with my daughter, that would be the exception. But on every other day, that has been like my top priority because I'm doing a buddy read. Somebody is waiting on me. I've tried to do that. Now, with that being said, I was also doing a buddy read with Brian over The Distant Mirror, and I struggled with that book at the time because I'm also a mood reader. I just was not in the mood for that book. I plan on coming back to it probably in the next couple weeks. But, we communicate through Voxer, and he's been sharing with me, and I'm going to share with him, and I think he's understood that. It's not that I wanted to put him on the back burner because I didn't. I just wasn't feeling it, and I struggle if I'm reading a book and I'm not feeling it. I'd rather just put it aside and wait till the mood feels right for that book, and it wasn't feeling right at that moment. Also, the different reading events on BookTube can affect my reading, or it does affect my reading. So like I've been reading mysteries. I'm getting my second Agatha Christie novel knocked out probably today, and there'll be a third one coming in the mail today, the next Miss Marple book that we're going to read this month with Peg at the History Shelf, her and Martine. They've been going through all the Marples. And so with that reading event going, March Mystery Madness, that kind of put it at the top of the list of books that I'm picking next. I'm trying to find mysteries so I can participate in that event. And I still have a couple more to read before the month is out. And then I have Sherlock Holmes back here on the shelf that I need to dig out and get started because I haven't started it yet. But anyway, March of the Mammoths. I finished a book for that. So anyway, pretty excited about reading events. I do like to participate in those. So I do put that as a priority when I'm picking my next book. But probably most of all, the thing that affects my reading most of all, and you've already heard it as I was talking about those other things, is I'm a mood reader. I pick books that I'm in the mood to read because it's my reading. I want to be happy. I don't want to be miserable. And so I try really hard to pick something that I'm going to enjoy reading at that moment. And so my wife and my daughters, they always ask me, how can you read? How can you have 5 to 10 books going all at one time? That's because I got to have options, because I don't want to waste my reading time trying to read something that I'm struggling with. I would rather go get some pages read in a book that I'm not going to struggle with. I'd rather do it that way and be, get something done. And so that's how I pick. A lot of it is my mood. What mood am I in? And then I base it on my buddy reads, the reading events, what I'm covering in class, just that kind of stuff. And then, honestly, sometimes stuff just strikes me as something I just want to pick up. Like in the mail yesterday, I got Baseball in Blue and Gray, and it's a thin book. So I'm going to bump this towards the top of the list. I'm going to knock this thing out here soon because I love baseball. I love the Civil War. So I just think it's going to be interesting. And so, again, I'm in the mood for it. So, number 7, do you have any rituals when you've finished the book? Rituals? I laugh at that question too. I was watching Arion and Prometheus do this, and they were really scratching their head at rituals. I don't like start dancing and and go run a mile because that's my ritual. But I guess if I had a ritual, I would go to my Google Doc that I keep all of the books I've read, and I put down the stats for it, the title, the author, the page count, and the dates that it took me to read that. That might be, I don't know if I'd call it a ritual, but it is something I do every time, and then I put it back on the shelf, the book. And also I tend to, when I get done with something, as I'm going through it in my head, and I'm analyzing what I read and kind of just mulling it over, I tend to talk about it a whole lot more with everybody around me. I know they get bored with me and annoyed with me, but that's just me, and they learn to live with it. But that's probably a ritual too, as I digest what I read, and I try to make it make sense to me. And if it's a potential book I'm going to do a review on the channel for, I want to cycle through that in my head and make sure I have a good grasp of it. And so I talk about it with others. So the last thing on here is, who do you tag? Now, this tag went around, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. This tag went around and around and around, and everybody was doing it. So I'll be honest, I don't know who has and who has not, and I'm not going to spend the time to look through and check everybody. If you haven't done this, do it. There we go, BookTube. So it's an open invitation. It's a pretty easy one to do. So anyway, BookTube, I thank you for watching. Share with me your thoughts on how you handle these situations. I'd love to talk to you in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. I already see the sun coming out, so I know I'm going to have a good day. So until next time, happy reading.